Namaste learners. So we were discussing the unit of yoga philosophy, that is the concept of Citta Vritti. In part 1, we discussed the meaning of yoga. We had a brief description on yoga philosophy, then how yoga philosophy is related with Sankhya philosophy, and we also did a short understanding of the concept of Citta Vritti in yoga philosophy. In this part, we are going to discuss Vyasa's 5 different conditions or levels of mental life, that is Chitta Bhumi, and the Astanga Yoga of yoga philosophy. Now, Vyasa again stated about 5 different conditions or levels of mental life, and it is called Citta Bhumi. Okay? The differences in the levels are due to predominance of the different gunas. As we had discussed that, as Citta is a product of Prakriti and it is subject to the 3 gunas, because of the differences or the predominance of the different gunas, our mental life has different levels. Okay? And what are these different levels? Let us discuss. The lowest stage is called Shipta or restless. The lowest stage of our mental life, that is the lowest level, is restless. It is called restless or Shipta. When the Citta has an excess of rajas and is tossed about by objects, when the predominance of the rajas is more, then we are restless. Okay? So this is the lowest level. The second lowest level is Mudha or blinded. When the Citta has an excess of tamas and it has the tendency towards vice, ignorance, sleep and the like, it is called Mudha. Okay, so the second lowest level is Mudha or blinded. So it is that level where the tamas predominates. Okay, when we have the excess of tamas and we have the tendency towards vice, ignorance, sleep and the like. The third lowest level, that is the third lowest stage, is called Vikshipta or distracted. When the Citta is unstable on account of natural defects or accidental troubles, then it is called Vikshipta. In this state, Sattva predominates, but Rajas also asserts itself at times. Here, the ordinary mind pursues the pleasant and avoids the unpleasant. Okay? So, in this stage, though the Sattva predominates, the Rajas also assert time to time. And the ordinary mind, it pursues pleasant and avoids the unpleasant. And these 3 stages, the above 3 stages, that is the lowest 3 stages are considered as imperfect, since they are associated with the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. As we see that in one Sattva predominates, in one Rajas and in one Tamas. So these 3 stages are considered as imperfect. Now the 4th level is called Ekagra or single pointed. When the Citta is devoted to our object of meditation and is entirely filled Sattva, then it is called Ekagra. This prepares the mind for its greatest efforts. So this is the 4 levels of mental life of Citta Bhumi. This is the 4th level. And it is called Ekagra or single pointed. And it prepares the mind for its greatest efforts. The 5th and the highest level of Citta Bhumi is called Niruddha or restricted. When the developments of the Citta are checked, it is called Niruddha. Here, the mental modifications are asserted through their latent impressions remain. Okay? Here, the mental modifications are asserted, though their latent impressions remain. The yoga psychologist mentioned that concentration is a general characteristic of all states of mind, though it is found in its instance form of samadhi. Okay? So the yoga psychologists, what they mentioned, that concentration is a general characteristic of all states of mind, but though it is found in its instance form of samadhi. Okay? And it is the 5th and the highest level of Chitta Bhumi. Okay, when the developments of the chitta are checked, okay, and it is the highest level of chitta bhumi. Okay, what happens here? The mental modifications are asserted, though their latent impressions remain. The mental modifications are asserted here, but though their latent impressions, they remain, and it is the highest and the fifth level of chitta bhumi or our mental life. Now let us come to the Ashtanga Yoga, that is 8 parts of yoga philosophy. The yoga philosophy advocates that human being should have control over the body, the senses and the mind. Yoga does not accept the view of killing the body, but it recommends its perfection. A sound mind needs a sound body. Though physical health is not the end of human life, it is still one of its essential conditions. We cannot look upon man as a physical machine to which spiritual life is attached from outside. The body is the instrument for the expression of spiritual life. So, instead of renouncing the material basis, the yoga accepts it as a part of the spiritual problem. And to overcome the hindrances, the yoga provides us the eightfold method, that is the Ashtanga Yoga or Yoganga, consisting of Yama, which means abstention, Niyama means observance, Asana, posture, Pranayama, regulation of breath, Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, Dharana, contemplation, Dhyana, fixed attention, and the last one, Samadhi, that is concentration. The last three are direct or internal aids, and the first three are indirect or external. Okay, and these are known as the aids of yoga, that is Yoganga. So let us start. The concept of Ashtanga Yoga may be explained in the following way. The first is Yama. Yama or abstention includes the 5 principles of Jainism, which are abstention from injury through thought, word or deed, that is Ahimsa. Ahimsa consists in the absence of cruelty to all creatures in all possible ways at all times. It is tenderness, goodwill and kindness for all living beings. The second principle of Yama is abstention from falsehood, that is Satya. Truthfulness consists in the harmony between true thoughts and words in uniformity with the good of all creatures. The words should be spoken for the welfare of all creatures and not for doing harm to others. The third principle of Yama is abstention from stealing, which is known as Asteya. Non-stealing consists in not merely misappropriating the property of others, but also in the lack of greed. The fourth principle of Yama is abstention from passion and lust, that is Brahmacharya. Human beings should control their passions, pleasures and sensual desires. The fifth principle of Yama is abstention from avarice, that is aparigraha or non-acceptance of gifts. Non-acceptance of gifts consists in abstaining from acquiring objects of enjoyment. It consists in non-acquisition and non-possession. So hence, a man cannot concentrate his attention on any object if his mind is distracted by sin and crime. It explains the necessity of complete abstention from all evil courses and tendencies of life on the part of the yogin which eager to realize the self in samadhi or concentration. The next is yama. The next is niyama, that is observance. The second part of this Ashtanga Yoga is niyama, which consists in purification, swachha. Now this purification is of two kinds, external and internal. External purification means the purification of the body by washing and taking pure food. Again, internal purification means the purification of the mind by cultivating good emotions and sentiments such as friendliness, kindness, cheerfulness for all. The second kind of niyama or observance is contentment, that is santosha. Contentment consists in the lack of desire to acquire anything. Okay? So when we desire things, we always, and when we do not get it, we always get suffering, isn't it? So contentment or santosha is whatever we get, we must be satisfied with that. Okay? So it consists in the lack of desire to acquire anything. That I want this, I want that, like this. The third kind of niyama is austerity or tapas. Austerities consist in the habit of enduring hunger and thirst, heat and cold, sitting and standing, non-speaking, non-communication of desires, even through gestures. Okay? And the fourth kind of niyama is devotion. Devotion to God. Study of the scriptures includes reciting the mystic syllabi, Om, and meditating on God. So we should always recite Om, isn't it? When we recite Om, we study the scriptures, then only what happens? Our devotions towards God becomes more and more deep. Okay? So we need to meditate on God by repeating this Om mantra. We all know this, isn't it? And these niyamas are positive virtues limited by time, place and other circumstances. All human beings who resort to yoga are acquired to practice them regularly. So these 5 niyamas need to be practiced by every yogin. Okay? And these 5 are purification, contentment, austerity and devotion. The third of the Ashtanga Yoga is asana or posture. According to yoga philosophy, our body has a dignity of its own as much as the mind. Hence, the third discipline is bodily posture. Asana is a physical help to concentration. We cannot fix our attention on an object where we are running or sleeping. Okay? We cannot fix our attention on an object when we are running or sleeping. So for that, we must settle ourselves down in a convenient posture before we begin to meditate. So we cannot meditate sleeping or running, isn't it? So we need to sit down in a convenient posture that we can begin to meditate. And Patanjali, the founder of yoga philosophy, mentioned that the posture must be firm, pleasant and easy. Okay? It should not be painful and distract the mind, because if the posture you are taking is painful, your mind will always go on that pain and you will not be able to concentrate properly. So Patanjali mentioned that the posture must be firm, pleasant and easy. It should not be painful and distract the mind. The control of the body is the basis of the yoga discipline. We should careful about our food. We should be careful about our food, what we eat, okay, what we drink. We should not eat and drink things which set our nerves on edge. Okay, so we should love our body actually, isn't it? We should love our body. So as we need to keep our mind very much fresh and clean, similarly we need to help our body also to be fit and good. So yoga philosophy suggests to control our body and not kill it. Okay? According to it, the perfection of the body consists in beauty, grace, strength, and adamantine hardness. If the body is not completely free from diseases and other disturbing influences, it is very difficult to attain concentration. So, yoga lays down various rules for maintaining the health of the body and making it a fit vehicle for concentrated thought. Okay? We can concentrate our mind properly if our body is fit, isn't it? If our body is not fit, if we are sick, how can we concentrate on our mind? How can we meditate? We cannot meditate. So to keep our mind fit, first we need to keep our body fit. Only then we can meditate properly. Okay? The fourth part is pranayama or breath control. So the fourth discipline of Yoganga is breath control. It is considered as a steady influence on the mind and it plays an important part in Hatha Yoga. Here, it is esteemed for its great efficiency in producing occult powers. But the physically weak persons should not follow the practices as it is very dangerous for them. So this is the fourth discipline of Yoganga and it is what? Breath control. Okay? So it is considered a steady influence on the mind and it also plays an important part in Hatha Yoga. Okay? So breath control consists in controlling natural breathing and subjecting it to a definite law. Okay? This fourth discipline, that is breath control, it consists in controlling natural breathing and subjecting it to a definite law. It consists in slow and deep inspiration, retention of breath and slow expiration. These three functions should be performed for definite periods. Breath control is conducive to concentration of the mind. It is the supreme austerity which purges the mind of impurities and generates illumination of knowledge. It can be learned only under the guidance of experts. Okay? The fifth one is pratyahara, that is withdrawal of the senses. Withdrawal of the senses from their objects is the fifth discipline of Yoganga. The mind is to be definitely shut against all impressions from outside. If the mind is withdrawn from the external sensible objects, the external senses are automatically withdrawn from them. They do not follow their objects, but they follow the mind. They are fixed on those objects only on which the mind is fixed. The restraint of the external senses depends upon the restraint of the mind. It can be acquired by repeated practice, determined will, and sense control. In this state, the mind is not disturbed by sights, sounds, and the like coming through the eye, the ear, and other senses. But it keeps all of them under perfect control. And this state is very difficult, though it is not impossible to attain it. Okay? This state, that is withdrawal of the senses from other objects, this is very much difficult, isn't it? To withdraw our all senses from the objects near us and to fully concentrate on one thing. Okay? But it is not impossible to attain it. Okay? To fix our mind and withdrawing our senses. So ethical preparation, that is yama and niyama, breath control and withdrawal of the senses from their natural functions are accessories to the yoga and not themselves elements in it. Okay? These five which we have done, these five, that is yama, niyama, breath control and withdrawal of the senses. Okay? These are the accessories of the yoga. Okay? And they are not elements of yoga. So they are considered as the external aids to yoga. Bahiranga sadhana. So these are the external aids to yoga. Now we come to number 6, that is dharana or contemplation. Dharana is the sixth discipline of Yoganga of yoga philosophy. It is fixing the mind or citta in a particular spot like the tip of the nose or the midpoint of the eyebrows. It is steadfastness of the mind. In normal life, ideas come and go, but do not stay long. Concentration is normally sustained at its fullest for a very short time only. Bodily postures controls the body, breath control regulates the vital forces, and withdrawal of the senses from their objects controls the senses, and fixation of attention controls the mind. So it requires withdrawal of the mind from the other objects and prepare it for meditation. So this is the sixth discipline of Yoganga, of yoga philosophy. And what this dharana or contemplation means? That it is fixing the mind or citta in a particular spot. Okay? Like the spot, like the tip of the nose or midpoint of the eyebrows. And for this we need to withdraw our all senses from the external objects. Okay? To do dharana or contemplation. The seventh one is dhyana or meditation. The seventh discipline is dhyana or meditation. Meditation is the steadfast contemplation of the object without any break or disturbance. There is a continuous stream of similar cognitions of the contemplated object undisturbed by dissimilar cognitions, which is called meditation. So there is a continuous stream of similar cognitions of the contemplated object undisturbed by dissimilar cognitions, which is called meditation. Meditation culminates in samadhi, where the sense of identity is lost. Okay? Here, the body and the mind becomes dead to all external impressions, and only the object of meditation and only the object of meditation, whatever it be, remains shining out. So dhyana reveals the reality of the contemplated object to the yogin's mind. So in dhyana, what happens? The body and the mind becomes dead to all external impressions, and only the object of meditation, whatever it may be, it remains shining out. And dhyana, it reveals the reality of the contemplated object to the yogin's mind. And now, the last one of the Ashtanga Yoga is samadhi or concentration. The eighth discipline is samadhi. It is the final step in the practice of yoga. In this stage, the mind is so deeply absorbed in the object of contemplation that it loses itself in the object and has no awareness of itself. Concentration is the name of the condition to be passed through before reaching liberation. So it is the condition which you need to pass through before you reach liberation. You need to go through concentration. Okay? Yoga insists on attaining freedom from concentration. It is the goal of the yoga discipline, since it lifts the soul from its temporal, conditioned, changing experience into a simple, eternal, and perfect life. So through this stage, the Purusha regains the eternal status. Okay? Through the stage of Samadhi, the Purusha, it regains its eternal status. Now, there are degrees of Samadhi. That is Sampragyata or conscious and Asampragyata or superconscious. Now, what is this Sampragyata or conscious Samadhi? In the stage of Sampragyata, the mind remains conscious of the object. In this state, the citta is single in intent and fully illumines a distinct and real objects. The citta removes the afflictions and slackens the bonds of karma and has for its goal the restraints of all modification. In it, there is a union between the knower and the known, the thought and the object. The thought and the object of thought are the same. This state is accompanied by deliberation, that is vitarka, reflection, vichara, joy, ananda, and sense of personality, that is asmita. Now let us come to asampragyata or superconscious samadhi. In sampragyata samadhi, there is a clean consciousness of the object reflected upon as distinct from the subject, where this distinction disappears in asampragyata samadhi. So thus, until we reach the states of samadhi, our effort is the negative one of discriminating Purusha from Prakriti. Okay, so until we reach the stage of samadhi, our effort will always be how can we discriminate the purusha from prakriti. When the distinction is realized, okay, when the distinction between the purusha and prakriti is realized, then the positive nature of the spirits manifests itself. Here, all confusion between the self and the activity of the citta ceases. It is the highest means to realize the cessation of mental modification. It is the ecstatic state in which the connection with the external world is broken and through which one has to pass before obtaining liberation. Okay, so these are the 2 degrees of samadhi, sampragata and asampragata. In sampragata, the mind remains conscious of the object, but in asampragata, what happens? There is a clean consciousness of the object reflected upon and distinct from that of the subject. So here we end the second part. So in this part, we discussed about the 5 different conditions or levels of mental life Chitta Bhumi by Vyasa, which consist of Shipta or restless, Mudha or blinded, Vikshipta or distracted. And these 3 stages are considered as imperfect since they are associated with the 3 gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The 4th level is Ekagra or single pointed, and the 5th and the highest level of mental stage is Niruddha or restricted. After that, we discussed about the Ashtanga Yoga. So, the yoga philosophy gives 8 principles, that is 8-fold methods, okay, to overcome the hindrances of life. And these 8 consist of Yama, and Yama includes 5 principles of Jainism, that is abstention from injury through thought, word or deed, that is Ahimsa. Satya, that is abstention from falsehood. Asteya, that is abstention from stealing. Brahmacharya, that is abstention from passion and lust. And Aparigraha, that is abstention from avarice. So, next is Niyama or observance. It is the second part, and it consists of purification, contentment, austerity, devotion. Okay. After that, the third is Asana or posture. It discusses how our bodily posture is very much important for our samadhi. Okay, to do yoga, our bodily posture is very much necessary because we cannot concentrate while running or sleeping. So we need a particular posture to do meditation. After that, we discussed the 4th principle, that is pranayama or how breath control. And how breath control, it is considered as a steady influence on the mind, and it plays an important part in hatha yoga. Okay. How we discuss how breath control consists in controlling natural breathing and subjecting it to a definite law. After that, we discussed about pratyahara, that is the 5th principle, that is withdrawal of the senses to concentrate on our meditation. So these 5, Yama, Niyama, breath control and withdrawal of the senses from the natural functions, are accessories to the yoga and not themselves elements in it. So they are considered as external aids to yoga. After that, we did number 6, that is dharana, contemplation. So dharana, it is the 6th discipline of yoga philosophy, and it is fixing the mind or citta in a particular spot like the tip of the nose or the midpoint of the eyebrows. Then the 7th one is dhyana or meditation. Okay, so meditation is the steadfast contemplation of the object without any break or disturbance. And the last one is samadhi or concentration. Okay, it is the final step in the practice of yoga. Now this samadhi again has degrees, 2 degrees, that is sampragyata or conscious and asampragata or super conscious. So in the sampragata or conscious, in this stage the mind remains conscious of the object. Okay, but in asampragata or super conscious, what happens? There is a clean consciousness of the object. Okay, in this concentration, in this samadhi, that is asampragata samadhi, there is no mental mode or chitta vritti. Okay, though the latent impression may remain, but there is no chitta mode. There is no mental modification in this state, and the objects in this state, there is a clean consciousness of the object reflected upon as a distinct from the subject. Okay, thank you.